Yeah, Boxing Bros UK. Tune in, watch the channel, and enjoy. And enjoy this. Thank you.
This is Boxing Bros UK here. I am His the Boss Chris. It's my co-host Andrew the Boxing Brain. We have a special guest today, Matthew Pomora, sports journalist, published in Ring Magazine, very, very knowledgeable boxing fan, based in New York, and he's going to help us understand and get another perspective on Dana White's takeover. Breaking news, Dana White, he's got, I think, 12 dates and some big splashes. This is what he had to say, firstly, in the Max Kellerman interview. I've cut a lot of it out because he licked his arse a bit. He didn't really ask the tough questions. Let's have it right.
You know, I talked about how Zuffa Boxing is only going to recognize Ring Magazine belts on this show as the championship. But I think about baseball, right? You have AAA, and then you have the major leagues. And I know you're very into the development of fighters. That's what you really geek out on your, like, contender series, right? So while I love the fact that you're not recognizing the sanctioning bodies, just the Ring Magazine belt as the world championship. But like in AAA, you do have a national championship, right? And then it's not the World Series, but is there going to be a Zuffa belt where, like, the winner of the Zuffa belt has a springboard into like Riyadh season and a championship fight, a Ring Magazine fight?
You and I have never talked about this, but the answer is yes. That's
right.
What will happen.
Yeah, right.
There will be a Zuffa belt, and then there will be a ring belt. And yes, I will not recognize any of the other sanctioning bodies.
So first question. Is this good for boxing? Because it sounds good, but what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, so this is the rub, right? And this is where I have a really good friend, Bobby Cassidy. His father was a great fighter, and he's a boxing aficionado and a journalist. And I personally said all along, the legitimate world champion is the Ring Magazine champion. So the person who has the Ring Magazine belt is the legitimate champion. The Ring Magazine belt is the man who beat the man or the woman who beat the woman who, but that person has the lineage of the title. So I've always said that's the real world champion. When Turki bought the Ring Magazine, I messaged two of my friends and I said, the sanctioning bodies are going to have a serious problem because Turki doesn't need their belts. He owns the belt. And now Zuffa, TKO Productions, they own the belt. They booked a deal. I couldn't get the financial terms of their new deal with Paramount Plus or the Skydance Corporation. I couldn't get the terms of the Zuffa Boxing deal, but it's very apparent what their goal is. They are going to set up a boxing league, and it's going to be run as a league where the fighters will be employees of that league, and they will be part of the league, and they will fight for the Zuffa title with the idea that eventually you win the Ring Magazine title.
It sounds good, like what we've always wanted, one belt to rule them all. Thoughts on that, Andrew?
I think modern boxing, it overcomplicates everything, but this is the most pertinent thing for me. When I'm having general conversations with people at work, they come to me and Chris, asking about boxing, and they're looking blank. They're asking about sanctioning bodies, about rehydration clauses. Why has he got the IBF belt? Why has he got the WBO? What's the difference between unified and undisputed? Why has he got the regular? Why? And I'm spending more time explaining the rules of boxing, and it drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Just from that point of view, Matthew, I think some simplicity is really needed. I don't know if this is completely the answer, but I just wanted your reaction to what I'm saying there. More simplicity.
You're 100% right. I have a great relationship with the IBF. They have been super generous to the Long Island boxing charities. The WBC, I actually talked to Maurizio Suleiman. I think he's genuinely wants what's best for the sport. Jill Diamond over at the WBC, just terrific people. I think the WBA is completely one of the most corrupt organizations I've ever seen in my life, and all the bullshit titles that they've created. But I'm telling you this, the belts are props used to sell fights. They come up with these different titles. Number one, they collect sanctioning fees based on the belts, and that's their business model. Chris is going to fight Andrew. for the undisputed IBF podcast talking championship in the continental, in the European Union title. Yeah, I'm going to go fight Mike Woods for the U.S. version of that exact title. I'm going to drop the sanctioning fee. I'm going to pay the sanctioning fee. I'm going to get the belt. But at the end of the day, the belts are props. What boxing thing is, you go to your local pub and say, who's the heavyweight champion of the world?
I'm going to say Anthony Joshua still.
That's right, because you're in the UK. They're going to say Anthony Joshua. You know what they're going to say here? Jake Paul.
No!
This is where we're at.
I told you guys when we got together last time, like I always hated the racial undertones, right? I always hated the idea of the great white hype and the great white hope and all that bullshit. Although now, if I'm being totally truthful, I would love to see an American at the top of the heavyweight rankings, and I never thought I'd be that provincial person, but I would love to see an American.
It's been a while, and he used to dominate.
But more importantly, I think Anthony Joshua, he was a great heavyweight champion, should look like and act like. And I have nothing but respect for Usyk. I think he's one of the best. He's a hysterical guy. He's quirky dude, and really funny. But if you, in America, you walk down the street and say, hey, tell me who the heavyweight champ of the world is, you're going to get Jake Paul. You're going to get Rocky Balboa. Nobody has the answer. And it's a shame because Usyk is a great fighter. Yet Fury, who was a hysterical guy, he made some dumb comments over the years. And the Klitschko's are a credit to any sport. They're a credit. They're both gentlemen, both knowledgeable. I love the fact that we really do believe that there will be a recognized heavyweight champion. But the challenge, if this is a closed league, are you really getting the best fighters? I really felt like that's what DAZN was trying to do, and that's why they paid Canelo all that money. And then as soon as the money ran out, that was the end of it. And now we're paying $25 a month to have DAZN, and they're paying for pay-per-views.
And the fight South 3 are only good. The next clip about what he's really trying to do.
Worried about what everybody else is doing. You know, you got Eddie Hearn going, I want to compete with him. I want to do this and that. I don't care what any of those guys are doing. These guys have been doing what they've been doing for 100 years. None of them have any vision. None of them ever think big time, or we wouldn't even be having this conversation if any of those guys were ever a threat.
Dana,
There'd be a lot of that, actually. I mean, that's the whole basis of the show. I want to build competitive fights with up and coming guys, and it gets to a point when you put on competitive fights early on in guys' careers. By the time they become 1, 2, 3 in the world, there's no debate whether they are or not. When you look at all these different sanctioning organizations and they have the top 3 guys ranked in the world and a champion, they're like, no, they're not as good as these guys over here in the WBC, or that's not as good as the WBA. And then most of those guys never end up fighting each other. Once you make it to the top 5 in my events, the way that we build them, there is no doubt who the best 5 guys in the world are in that weight class.
You know, it's just like in the amateurs. The reason elite amateurs almost always turn out to be elite pros is because they had to fight tournament style. They couldn't pick and choose and duck, and that's the UFC model. At a certain point, you're basically in a tournament, in a year-long tournament, to see who's going to get the top spot.
So
Interesting points.
I agree with what he's saying, but my problem is, it sounds like it's good for boxing, but I think they're making it more complicated. I'm going to run a few scenarios for you. So basically what he's saying is he's not going to acknowledge them sanctioning bodies, and he's going to make the best fight the best, have a league or whatever. Let's say we've got someone who's just become undisputed. They've got WBC, IBF, WBA, WBO. Yeah. Then we've got another geezer who's won the Zelfa League, and he's just got the Zelfa belt, yeah? And then he's going to fight the #1 contender in the Zelfa League for the Ring Magazine belt, yeah? And then we're all going to say, no. The guy who's undisputed, who's got the old belts, we've got the history, he's the best. And that Zelfa #1 contender, why is he getting a shot before our guy who's collected all the 4 belts and fought the best in our division? Like, what's going to be regarded as better? The normal sanctioning bodies or this Zalfa League. I think it's going to make it more complicated now, because is it going to be, if you've got the WBA, can you fight straight for the ring and fight the Zalfa champ? Or because Turki owns the Zalfa League, is he going to just be a twat and say, right, only people in this league are going to get the shot at the ring belt, so everyone's going to jump ship? There's so many things.
To win the Ring Magazine belt, you have to beat Usyk. Or Usyk has to retire, and then the 1 and the 2 have to fight each other for that belt. I was cracking up the fight Dubois, right? And they're like, this will make him a 3-time undisputed champion. I'm like, says who? What are you talking about? He had the belt. He didn't want to take the fight. He's now all of a sudden he's back to being undisputed because he takes a meaningless belt
It drives me mad.
Yeah,
it drives me mad.
He's undisputed.
Yeah, it was like he was the champion. That belt, it was insignificant. It meant nothing. It was, and by the way, now they're talking about, because he doesn't want to fight Joe Parker, which is wrong. I think Usyk beats him pretty handily, but Parker could do it. There's no doubt about, like, Parker would be a live underdog, but Parker could do it. I'm not going to make enough money to fight him, so go take your belt and go home. Parker pretend to be the heavyweight champion. I bet Trevor Bryan, who's a guy I really genuinely like him. He's I'm partial. He's a New York guy, upstate New York. I met him, but I'm like, you're not the heavyweight champ of the world. Like, you're not, right?
Was that when he was the WBA champ?
Dubois picked the belt up off him, didn't he?
That's who Dubois beat for the first time.
This is what I mean, though, Matthew. This is not my overall point, right? We're all boxing fanatics, and we stick our head in it, and I still have to brush up on it, and there's bit short, and I'm like, I'll have to look into this, because I'm a bit OCD and I like to know as much as I can. You've got all this nonsense with, I did Bivol Duck Beterbiev, now did Bivol Duck Benavidez fighting our boy Anthony Yard for the WBC, so he's had to relinquish that belt. And then you got Usyk, then you got these interim champions, and then you like Caballero, who Chris is a massive fan of. I am too, who we met and spoke to. Parker's the interim on that side. Our local lad Moses is now the number 1, even though he's only beat Whack, Dillian White and Dempsey McKean. The guy I live with is really close friends with Moses. I have a lot of ties with him, as Chris does. Like, he is the real deal, he's fantastic. But he's number 1 in 2 sanctioning bodies after 13 fights. And we got all this nonsense. The interim champions, Matthew, are not even getting a shot because, oh no, it's the IBF next, and then we got to wait for the WBA. There's too many belts. There's too much stuff going on.
And then, again, the thing with Dubois, Dubois got the IBF title, but he didn't. That was complete bullshit. That didn't. Like I said, I'm like, well, what are you talking about? He's the 3-time undefeated champion. He was never not the undisputed. He won the title from the heavyweight champion of the world. He defended it and beat the former heavyweight champion of the world. And then he's defended the belt. He never lost anything outside the ring. I mean, taking the belt away and just giving it to somebody, that doesn't mean anything. You go to my house, I have on my trophy shelf a Ring Magazine belt. I have a WBO light heavyweight belt that I got as a gift, autographed by my friend Joe Smith Jr.
I really like him. I really love Joe Smith Jr., man.
Yeah, he's great. He's a great guy. His family cuts my trees. I've been trying to sell a wood pile back that was cut by the former light heavyweight champion. You could grab a log as a fire starter. It's trying to do that as a souvenir, but that doesn't make me the champion because I have the belts. But I also have a belt that once belonged to Ric Flair. So woo with the best of them. It doesn't make me the former wrestling champion.
It's all narrative, though, isn't it? Because what happened with the Dubois is that Queensberry were really pushing him, really trying to market him. And he obviously beat Hrgovic, who's a very solid heavyweight. Then he beat AJ, which was obviously his signature win. Even though he's picked it up vacantly, but he's beaten these 2 top heavyweights, and now he's legitimised. And I think it's all these scripts and narratives in boxing that, even though I get caught up in it, boys, it's like in soccer over here. If you win the Premier League title, you're the best team in the country. If you win the Premier League, you are the team. There's no kind of, oh, well, hang on, Manchester United have won the regular version of that. It's like, what's going on? What is this?
Yeah, no, listen, just to be clear, I have no problem with Dubois fighting for the title. I thought you know, he definitely was deserving, beat Joshua, beat Flip. Like, no question that he was deserving of the title shot, but I also would never have been like, well, this is for the undisputed because they're both world champions. No, he's not the world champion. He's a #1 contender, and he owns a belt.
Yeah.
That doesn't make him the champion.
He can't be the champion because you can't say that you're the champion by beating AJ, because Usyk's already beat AJ twice when he was in his prime already. But my point is just how this is going to work. As soon as next year comes, if Turki owns a Ring Magazine belt, is he going to alienate the fighters on the other side of the street? The WBA, WBC, IBF champions, are they still going to be able to fight for the Ring Magazine belt? Or is it going to ruin boxing, I think, because there's going to be a divide. The Ring Magazine's all for on one side, and then the historic normal belts on the other. Because if the Ring Magazine belt is still neutral, and it's any fighter who has it is the best, is Dana White's going to allow one-fight deals, crossovers, like the Zelfa fight belt guy will fight the undisputed champ or one of the champions who's got a belt, who's supposed to be good, to save him running around, becoming undisputed. He can just win one belt and say, I want to fight the Zelfa guy, and the winner gets the Ring Magazine. Like, if it's going to be like that, that'll be great. Well, Max Kellerman, the wanker, I watched all that video, and I thought he was going to ask that. I thought he was. Why wouldn't you ask that question? Or is Turki Alalshikh bought it so they can't fight for the Ring Magazine belt? If he's done that, the whole thing's fucked, and it's going to mess.
The biggest sin I think that they can commit is cheapening the Ring Magazine belt, because the Ring Magazine belt is the legitimate champion. The people who run Ring Magazine now, the guys who are on top of it, Tom Gray, who's from Scotland, those guys, I have nothing but respect for them. I think those guys have nothing but integrity. What I think would be a major sin, though, is if Zuffa cheapens the Ring Magazine belt, then just makes it one of the other sanctioning bodies.
This means we'll have 6 belts.
Yeah,
we'll have 6 belts.
Insane. Like there's going to be a lot of challenges. I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm not one of the people that's like, oh my gosh.
Me too, yeah.
Because these guys, the ruination of boxing's been trying to ruin itself forever. A lot of the stuff that Dana has said is absolutely correct. The fact that nobody knows how we started this conversation, the fact that nobody knows who the heavyweight champion of the world is, when it's such a great fighter, such a great story, what a great character, and that boxing has done zero, and his management deserves shellacking for not putting him out there more. There's a reason Top Rank couldn't get another deal done with ESPN, and Dana White got a deal done for the UFC with Paramount plus the Skydance platform. I'm not against this. I'm not anti this. However, I have a lot, Chris, of the same things you're asking. This is not something that you guys worry about over there, but we have to worry about here is healthcare. So if their employees would make them like the WWE wrestlers, where they're captured independent contractors, or they're going to be employees where they're entitled to healthcare, all the different avenues. I'm interested to see how they shake that out.
That's the next clip. That this is a big problem in boxing, definitely in the UK, and definitely I know it is in America. So, and this is what Dana White's going to change, because to be fair to him, what he's done in UFC's worked wonders. But we'll just quickly watch that.
NFL, NBA, MLB type numbers, starting to get into that territory, rights deals that boxing has never had. Do you think it's possible to build a boxing business to that kind of scale?
That's the plan, and you're absolutely right. It's one of my when I think about the boxing guys, all the boxing guys, all these guys that talk smack and all the dumb stuff that's said, these guys have been in the business for 100 years, and none of them have done anything. I've never seen a business where there's been trillions of dollars in revenue, and at the end of the day, there's nothing there, because none of them reinvested in the sport of boxing. Every time they put on an event, it's a going out of business sale. We have reinvested hundreds of millions of dollars into the sport of MMA and into the UFC. And yes, we will do the same with boxing.
I mean, that's music to my ear.
Obviously, that is a fair point by Dana White. He reinvests into the UFC. They've got the UFC academies, training centers all over the country. Anyone who signs up for the UFC, they got private healthcare, all that kind of stuff. So that's really, really good. And it is music to our ears because in England, we don't get any investment from the government for boxing as a sport like other sports do. Eddie Hearn, a few years ago, his old amateur boxing club that he trained at, had to give him $1 million. They were going to get, or $500,000, they were going to get closed down. A lot of fighters just giving amateur boxing clubs.
One of the things we do. That's one of the things our charity does is we try to help the local boxing clubs because they keep kids off the street.
And he reinvest in boxing, how he's saying to do it. Sounds great. And my question is, how is it in America? Is it the same as the UK where fighters, charities, that's what's keeping boxing going, not the government? Is that the same way?
100%, yeah. So my local club that I have my amateur license through, that I did my training and stuff at, it's near and dear to my heart. It looked like a museum. It was an amazing place. They're still trying to find a new home. I'm going to say, and I agree with Dana White 100%. He's right. They don't put anything back into the sport. But the margins that UFC makes versus the margins that boxing makes is completely different because the fighters take the majority of the money. Dana White, UFC takes the majority of the money, and then he is able to reinvest it back. Anthony Joshua pays more money in taxes than every single guy in the UFC. It's not right, it's not wrong. It's just, this is the facts. Now, the way UFC works is it's a league, people are part of it, and then you get paid based on your scale, and there's ways to earn incentives and there's bonuses. Is that the right way to do it? Who knows? And we're going to see, because I do believe that's what their model is going to look like. You're going to sign with their promotion. You're going to get a lot of fights and have an active schedule, especially New York. A lot of the promoters, their fighters are not active enough. They get
one fight a year. Yeah,
1-2 fights a year because they have all these fighters that they have to get fights for. I don't think that's going to be the case with Zuffa. And that's why he said, by the time our guys become the champions, you're going to know that they're the real champions.
You make a good point, Matthew. I wanted to just touch on that quickly about continuity. And also, you know, it still frustrates me, right? And me and Chris have spoke about this before. We did a piece on Jaya Patara we're both big fans of. And it seems to be, unless you're an amazing self-promoter and incredibly marketable. Like you see, even Bud Crawford, right? I don't necessarily agree, but Chris agrees. He is regarded now probably amongst boxing purists as the #1 man of the modern era. Nobody fucking knows who he is. This is a real fucking problem. It's pissing me off. Actually, a bit annoying. Jaya Patara is the best like the cruiserweight division dead, to be honest. Jaya Patara is far and away. Speed, power, accuracy, chin, heart. He's not of this TikTok generation. He don't want to be calling people out on social media. We've met him. He's very stoic, very down to earth. Zerdo don't want the fight. Jake Paul certainly don't want Jaya Patara smoke, that's for sure. Right? Jaya Patara is now potentially going to have to bloody move up to heavyweight to get into big money fights. And what annoys me is the continuity of the sport. When you're watching a soccer, as you call it over there, football schedule over here, American football, NBA, Wednesday, the weekend, you know you're watching the sport. Boxing is too fragmented. You know, you'll have one in November, a big card. There's not, at least with a league, it's going to bring some consistency, because I think it is trying to bring the casual fans over. And they're like, okay, well, when's the next big fight? When's the next big fight? Oh, 6 months down the bloody line. You know,
and if he takes the fight, if they take the fight, we don't know if you're going to accept it yet. Or they're going to vacate the belt and fight someone like, it's just a mess.
The point I'm trying to hammer home, Matthew, is I think there needs to be more continuity and consistency in the sport and bring more eyes and regular viewers to it.
They're going to have the ability to have a television schedule, right? Or a streaming schedule with Paramount Plus. Paramount Plus is a huge network. I'm doing the math in my head, right? 12 months, 12 shows. Like, I think the fact that Netflix hosted that fight and they had such a huge viewing audience because it wasn't free, but it was free because it was part of your subscription. So, yeah, you know, if you have Paramount Plus and boxing is one of your live sports, it can only help the sport.
Agreed.
Where this all starts to get a little dicey and where it's starting to get trickier now. And again, my buddy Bobby Cassidy, I go, we're finally getting what we've always wanted and what we've always prayed for. But boxing.
Last one, we're going to close the show now. So last quick shots, Andrew, what do you make of it? Conclusion before we go.
Oh, trying to round up it. But by the way, thanks for coming on, Matthew. Always a pleasure. Really insightful. Always got deep knowledge. You know, we love these collaborations. You know, not just surface level stuff. But I don't like getting too much into the politics. But this is a massive thing for the next couple of decades in boxing. So my overall conclusion is like what Matthew said. I want to see the sport prosper more. Not to keep digging out people like Canelo and certainly Mayweather back in the day, but making all of the money and the fighters coming up trying to scrimp and scrape to try and get their opportunities. Like we were trying to promote Theo Brooks. We're almost his promotional team, you know, a really talented fighter coming out of Spain, originally from England, and scraping by, sparring who he could, getting fights where he can. I just want to see the betterment of the sport and more competitive fights and more regular. And if Dana White and TKO and Turki can do that and bring that forward, fantastic.
On to you, Matthew. Your final words?
I want to be cautiously optimistic. I want to believe that even though they're trying to augment the law, that there is going to be a benefit to the overall sport, not just a handful of the fighters of the sport. And I have to say this one thing, and there's a lot of things that are there's going to be problems, and I brought a lot of those up. But I am optimistic that this is going to do something better. But thanks, guys. I love being with you guys. Always enjoy being on the show. Thanks for having me. I'll come anytime you guys call me.
All Matthew's handles in the description. And my final thoughts on this is, I really like it. I think it's great. And if anything that's great for boxing, I'm a fan of. And I do hope the sanctioning bodies and those belts still stay active. And we use them as our league kind of thing. Like if you win the WBC, you get to fight, challenge the Zelfa champion or whoever the ring champion is for the belt. I hope they can work something out. And I hope that the bonuses are really good, because I think that will make for better fights. If you knock the geezer out and you're going to get an extra 100 grand, we will see more knockouts.
Yes.
We might see a transition.
Incentives.
People learn to fight and they'll train for knockouts more because of the bonuses. I hope that happens. I really hope that we don't end up having now 6 different belts and it makes it more complicated. But I'm optimistic it's going to be good, and I hope it will work. And that's it from me. A like and subscribe. Thank you, legend.
Share the video, check Matthew out and all his stuff.
Check him out. Ring Magazine, sports writer. He's the man. Like and
NYFights. Check me out on NYFights.
Yes.
I need somebody. Now she's